means you are against something and you're criticising something publicly. This is public criticism. So you might say the minister, the foreign minister, has spoken out against his political enemies, whoever they are. He has come out against abortion. If he's against abortion, he has come out against abortion. That means he has publicly criticised abortion. Now, I've also put this one here, even though it's not really publicly declared, but I think it's very often used in politics and in the newspapers. And it just means demands or requires, call for. So you might say the situation calls for emergency funding. Yeah, you need lots of money quickly, urgently, because the situation calls for more money. It needs more money. It demands more money. We say desperate times call for desperate measures. And again, it's kind of idiomatic, but we just mean that when you're in a terrible situation, you're going to have to do a lot to get out of it. Yeah, you need to act in an extreme way to get out of that terrible situation. So desperate times call for desperate measures. Removal from a surface now. If you jump off something, roll off something, get off something, that all means removal from a surface. So you can jump off a bike, you can jump off a fence, you can jump off a diving board, you can roll off something as well. You can roll off the sofa, you can get off the sofa. Okay, so there are other typical nouns that collocate with them. If you fall off something, that means you fall off the surface. You can fall off your bike, you can fall off your sofa, you can fall off your chair. But compare it with fall out of. You've got to be inside something to fall out of it. So you can fall out of the window. You can fall out of the car because you're inside them. Hopefully you don't fall out of the car because that would be very dangerous. But you can also fall out of a tree because you're in the tree. When you climb a tree, you go into the tree, we think anyway. And so you fall out of the tree, but you fall off the branch. Okay, we say he fell off the branch, but he fell out of the tree. Okay, tear, rip and bite off. They all mean removal from a surface. If something tears your arm off, it tears it off of the surface that is your body. So it makes sense. But a wild animal, a lion, could bite your arm off or could rip it off. Okay, so they're all very useful. And do compare them with the other ones like rip up, cut up, tear up, which just means into many pieces. And also rip out of, cut out of, tear out of. In which case that would mean that perhaps there's a picture in a magazine and you cut it out of the magazine. It's inside the magazine and you cut it out of the magazine. So it's not the same as cut off, where it's removal from a surface. It means removal from inside something, just like the difference between fall off and fall out of. Now, if you peel something off, you're peeling off the skin maybe. Perhaps it's a fruit and you need to peel off the skin. Perhaps it's an orange, yeah, and you peel off the skin. But we also say that your skin peels during summer when it's very hot. So your skin starts peeling off. It starts coming off of the surface. And if something is giving something off, it's emitting a gas or a strange smell, a smell of some description. So rotten eggs give off a horrible smell. Nobody likes it. It's pretty disgusting. But an engine which is broken in a car might give off a strange smell. Okay, so give off for emit a gas. If you're a chemist and you add two different solutions, you might see some bubbling and a gas may be given off. It might be hydrogen gas or sulfur dioxide or something like that, but a gas is given off. Now, if you're sorting out your schedule, you might put something off, which means make it later. You might bring something forward, which means make it earlier. Yeah, both of those are possible with your schedule. If I bring forward one of my lessons, I make it earlier than it was originally intended to be. And if I put it off, I make it later. And if I call it off, I cancel it. I say there is no lesson. We're calling off the lesson. And if I pencil somebody in, that means provisionally put someone in my schedule, but with the understanding that things may change. Okay, it's when you put somebody provisionally into your schedule, but you know that things may change. So it's when somebody is not sure that they're going to be available and they say, can you pencil me in for that time, but I might get in touch in a few days and ask you to put it off or bring it forward. Okay, eating and drinking. If you gobble or eat something up, you eat very, very quickly. Yeah, gobble up and eat up. In fact, it's not quite the same. If you eat something up, you eat it all, you eat it entirely. And so we try to get children to eat up their dinner, yeah? Eat it all, eat it entirely and not leave bits and pieces. But if you gobble something up, it sounds to me like it's very fast as well. The same with wolf something down. Wolf something down means eat something very fast, and gulp something down means drink something very fast. I forgot to put one up here actually, just suddenly thought of it. So if gulp something down is drink very fast, and wolf something down is eat very fast, sip at is drink very slowly, sipping at his beer, yeah, just having a few sips. Peck at is eat very slowly. So notice that they both have the same preposition, sip at and peck at, okay? Both of them mean slowly, in small quantities, yes? Sipping at a glass of wine or pecking at your food, it means eating or drinking slowly and in small portions. Polish something off means completely finish again. It's like eat something up. So there might be a few cakes left on the plate and you decide to polish them all off. Why not? Best not to let them go to waste. Ignoring now. Now this is a really important section. Some of these are some of my favourite phrasal verbs are down here. So if you gloss over details, you ignore the details. You pretend that they're not important. Politicians are famous for glossing over the details because they don't want you to, well, they don't want to go into detail. Very often the details are inconvenient or they're not particularly nice for them to talk about, yeah, and so they will gloss over the details. They don't want anybody to know the inconvenient details, the unpleasant facts, and so they will gloss over the details. They also might skirt around the truth, which just means avoid the truth, avoid it. So journalists are famous for avoiding the truth, politicians are famous for avoiding the truth. So you could use this one with either of those groups. Anyone who's avoiding the truth skirts around the truth. But skirt around means physically avoid, and if you skirt around something, you go around it to make sure you avoid it. Okay, shrug something off means ignore someone's comments or criticism. If you just shrug it off, you pretend that those comments or that criticism is unimportant, totally unimportant to you. So you just shrug off comments or shrug off criticism. Again, politicians are famous for doing this, but anybody in the newspapers who's regularly ignoring comments or criticism or something, you can say he shrugged off those comments, he shrugged off that criticism. And the same goes for brush something off. But brush something off is not just used with something, it's also used with someone. Brush someone off. Shrug isn't. You only shrug things off. You don't shrug people off. But you can shrug things off. And it means like ignore it. You know, it's just like shrug it off. We have this expression, water off a duck's back. You know, when something is water off a duck's back, usually it's used to mean that an insult doesn't matter to somebody. They don't care about these insults. It's water off a duck's back. Well, they shrug off these insults. They don't care. They don't get upset about these insults. They shrug them off. Okay, and brush something off would be the same. But brush someone off means to ignore, well, to get rid of someone. Maybe somebody comes to your door and knocks on the door and you brush them off with a lame excuse. You fob them off with a lame excuse. And it's very dismissive. You dismiss them. You get rid of them with some kind of lame excuse or some kind of reason to get rid of them. But you just don't want to talk to them. So you are ignoring them. You're getting rid of them. You're dismissing them with both of these two. Lastly, we've got explain something away. And if anyone's got some questions, now's a good time to start writing them down. But if you explain something away, it means you try to find reasons and explanations for something in order to find some kind of explanation that will make people happy. But it might not be the correct explanation. It might not be the right explanation. And you just use these things to explain something away as if it were unimportant. But it sounds like it probably is important. And you're just explaining it away with excuses again. Quite a hard one for me to explain something away. But let me try to give you an example. So perhaps, again, I'm going to use a politician. Perhaps there's a minister and he's been criticised for perhaps, I don't know, perhaps there's not enough money going into the health service. And he's been criticised about this, but he just explains the lack of funding away with a number of excuses, as if it were unimportant. So he just explains the lack of funding away. Okay, is that clear? I hope it's clear. If you have any questions now is the time to put them up, because I've got a lesson very, very soon, and so I've got to come off of the live broadcast, unfortunately. But I hope you're all rushing to the website already to buy this book, the Phrasal Verbs book. I'll actually have it as a physical copy on Monday, and so I will hold it up to prove to you all that it is a real thing. But if there are no other questions, okay, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate your support. Please subscribe, like, etc., etc., and even more importantly, buy my book.